Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at United Health. It is time for another update, and on this chart we are tracking still this idea of a double 1-2-1-2 setup that have formed, where this would be an internal third wave to the upside, and now we are looking for the large correction in the wave 4, from where we are expecting to still continue to new all-time highs in a follow-up wave 5 to the upside. Now within this wave 4 we expect to find support and create or start the reversal from the levels between the $260 all the way down to the $96 level. And I want to mention once again, because this seems to be a sticking point, we don't need to get to the 50% retracement. We don't need to get to the $96 level. That is just how deep this area of support in the wave 4 spans. In fact, it actually shows strength that within the first wave to the downside, we have only gotten to the 23.6% retracement. It shows that we are likely going to form this correction in the wave 4 far before getting to anywhere close to those levels at the 50% retracement, yeah? Now, this isn't a guarantee, yeah? These corrections can always extend and they can get quite deep. I'm not guaranteeing that we won't get there, but I don't necessarily find that a high probability, because even if I were to be looking here at a direct extension lower, I wouldn't be looking at that level for an ideal target. Now, as I was mentioning in many of the previous videos, yeah, we have been tracking this pattern for months, and ever since forming this 5-wave move to the downside, we have been preferring another low. And this will continue to remain the case, especially as long as we hold here in below the resistance levels for the wave B between the $342 all the way up to the $510 level. Yeah, as long as we hold here below the 78.6% retracement, there is still a very significant risk that this extension or this correction in the wave 4 in green extends into another low, and that is due to the fact that we have formed so far a 5-wave move to the downside. Now, that isn't the problem. Again, we have a lot of room within this area of support, and I know a lot of people are in disbelief that we can get anywhere close to the $200 level or the $150 level. It is very much possible, especially from an Elliott wave perspective. It is rather preferred at this point due to the structure that has formed so far within this correction. Now, with that said, we have been tracking here internally this wave B, and we have so far already possibly completed this correction, yeah? I don't need any additional highs to consider this wave B to have a possible top. I can easily be tracking this as an ABC structure, in which case I could already be looking for the C wave to the downside, and we can even look here for an ideal target for the wave C. Now, this is again assuming that we have topped here within the wave B, which honestly isn't even my preferred scenario. Now, if we have did I say wave C? I meant wave B. Now, if we are to assume the top, we are looking for an ideal target at the $142.5 level. Now, again, as I always say, we don't need to get there, and certainly we don't need to stop there. That is just an ideal target for the wave C. A target it is generally drawn towards, but I have seen many times the wave C only get, for example, to the 78.6% retracement. Sometimes I have even seen it only get to the 61.8% retracement, yeah, and maybe not even there. So it isn't a hard rule that it must get to those levels, but if I were to actually consider, based on this internal structure that has formed so far, that this would be a 1-2-1-2, yeah, I could easily see it getting to those levels depending on how strong this third wave to the downside would unfold as. But again, this isn't even necessarily my preferred interpretation, because here in the shorter time frame, I have actually been tracking this idea in yellow that could allow another high, yeah? We could still see an extension here within the wave B, because while I can be tracking this as a 3-wave move to the upside, I honestly also can easily track this as a 5-wave move, as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th, yeah? No problem for me to actually consider this a 5-wave move in even more than one ways, in which case I could, just as I prefer on the larger time frame, to have another wave down after the initial 5-wave move to the downside, yeah? I prefer after the 3-wave correction to the upside, another 5-wave move down. The same applies here in the shorter time frame, where I would actually prefer to see another 5-wave move to the upside in the wave C, resetting the wave B top. Now, for that, we have this area of support in yellow to allow us to track such movement with high probabilities, within the $316 level all the way down to the $260 level. So far, the pattern that we are tracking to the downside has initially moved into or in the first wave down in a 5-wave pattern, in what could be even considered an impulse, but might work better as a diagonal pattern. In a wave A, we have pushed perfectly into the 38.2% retracement before getting this more significant reaction, but quite easily, quite quickly afterwards, we extended lower in another 5-wave move to the downside. Now, this follows pretty fine the idea of a larger ABC structure unfolding, where, for example, this is a case where the wave C would have been quite short. Now we still have to wait and see if it plays out, because while I am tracking this as a possible bottom for the wave B in yellow, I am also considering this as a possible bearish 1-2 setup as part of the larger white scenario, in which, yeah, we may have a top here in the wave B, and we could already be looking for here the larger wave C to the downside. Yeah, we are tracking that internally in the short time frame, and for that we have here this area of resistance between the $319 all the way up to the $334.5, where since the previous video we have pushed perfectly into the 78.6% retracement, just to show you clearly how strong those levels are, how perfectly they work. We have followed here from the 4-hour time frame. We have only gotten basically a wick at the 38.2% retracement before the reaction to the upside. Then here in the shorter time frame for the resistance levels, we have pushed into the 50% retracement that was as part of the previous video, but then we pushed into the 61.8% retracement here before getting rejected. Yeah, a significant and strong movement before getting rejected, and now into the 78.6% retracement here before getting an even more significant rejection. And in that case, we still need to be very much aware of a possible wave 2 top being in place here, especially as it is at the last level of support, where if we were to form another high in this area, I would find it highly likely that this 1-2 setup will not end up playing out. I would need to see a break above the beginning of this wave 1 for a clear invalidation of such an idea. But already a break above the 78.6% retracement would increase such probabilities, such a direct breakout to the upside for me. But with that said, here in the short time frame in the previous video, we already had a full count within this correction in wave 2, and now that we extended higher, well, we have such a structure that could actually even allow me to be tracking this as an initial 5-wave move to the upside. Yeah, I could actually count this as a 5-wave move in more than one ways, in which case I want to look for a possible area of support for the extension in the larger wave C. Now, even if we are to break here in the short time frame this area of resistance in white, it wouldn't be a clear direct signal that we are going to be heading directly into the larger wave C in yellow. It would be a good indication that, yeah, of course, it would be a good indication that we wouldn't be heading directly into a third wave to the downside, but it is not a clear signal that this structure will push directly higher into a reset of the wave B. We will need to be tracking the next levels of resistance afterwards, which would be, for example, for a further extension here of a larger ABC that could be even within the yellow interpretation, and then we push higher. But for now, we won't focus on those, and we will focus only here internally, where once again, we have pushed into the first level of support, the 38.2% retracement here, and we have found our initial reaction to the upside. Now, this area of support in the small time frame for this possible 1-2 setup is between the $323 all the way down to the $311 level, where breaking below the 78.6% retracement is a signal that this structure is more likely going to extend to the downside. Now, we are here basically between a rock and a hard place, and we are looking to see which breaks first, the resistance levels in white or the support levels in yellow, to determine which pattern is more likely to follow. And for now, these are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.